Good evening.
Hi.
And your full name is?
Jess is fine.
Oh, it is. Well, Jess, evidently some people in this room think that you might have something to add to these proceedings. Do you?
Well, maybe just this. A nativity scene is nothing more than a symbol. And a symbol, or an image, or a tradition really serves no purpose if it doesn't stir someone to remember the thing that it represents.
Look, what does any of this have to do with...
And I do appreciate the questions you pose, Mr. Pollock. And it may surprise you to know that I agree with you more than you think. Your organization has a long history of trying to protect people's freedoms and to make sure that no one has anything unjustly forced upon them. And mainly you try to protect the weak and to be a voice for the people who don't have a voice. And it's those very principles that represent the heart of God and the truest meaning of Christmas. You see, God never wanted to force his son on anyone either. Look at it this way. He's God. With his power, he could have compelled everyone in the world to bow down and worship his son. But he didn't. He could have filled the world with thunder and lightning and blazing chariots to announce the new king's arrival, but he didn't. He could have assembled the richest, most powerful people on earth to be witnesses for the new king's coronation, but he didn't. Like I said, God never wanted to force his son on anyone. It's just not the way he does things. And that's why that first Christmas was the way it was. He chose a poor girl from the village to give birth to the new king. In her culture, she had no rights, no voice. And he chose a stable instead of a palace for the new king's birth. And shepherds, common laborers, they were chosen as the first witnesses. When God came to earth, he came to the least and the last and the lowest and the lost. The very people that Mr. Pollock claims to represent. And these people witnessed the birth of a king who never owned a home, never held political office, never made a grab for power. But this simple man from a poor mother and a small town is still considered a person of interest right here today, over 2,000 years later in this hall. Now, why is that? Not because he forced people to choose him. It's because for centuries, men and women have been seeking God. And they found him in this man. And what's remarkable is that while they were seeking God, they found that he'd been looking for them their whole lives. So that's what happened on that first Christmas 2,000 years ago. God came to earth looking for you. And he came in the form of a man who showed the whole world what God's love was like. So on that first Christmas, God's perfect gift was love. Now, if you take the love out of Christmas, where will you put it? What will you do with it? What will you do with him if you remove him from this season? The thing that fills people's hearts usually starts to show up everywhere around them. And that's why this time of year you see evergreens and lights and stars and nativity scenes. Because they remind people of the love that came looking for them so long ago.